Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. So we've got a power ranking video coming up for you with a top 10. Starting at number 10, we've got the Buffalo Bills. So another tough loss for the Bills against opposition that could well be opponents for them in January if they were to make the playoffs. They have a couple of must-win games coming up in the next 2 weeks against the Jets and the Broncos before they go on a very tough run, facing the Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, and Chargers at Christmas. That run of 4 games could make or break their season, and I think if they get 500 or better, they're in a very strong position to make the playoffs. If they go 1-3 or 0-4 in those 4 games, alarm bells could be ringing, and there could be a very likely possibility of the Bills missing out on playoff football this year. Then at number 9, we've got the Dallas Cowboys. How close did they get against the Eagles late in that 4th quarter? The rookie tight end just inches short of the end zone, which could have made that game very interesting late on for them. They did a great job at doing what no other defense has done this season against the Eagles, and that was to keep AJ Brown very quiet. And CeeDee Lamb went off on the night, but it wasn't enough to help them. The defeat against the Eagles now puts them 3 games back in the division and in a very tricky position in terms of being able to take this division now. We've got the Miami Dolphins at number 8, a tough loss in Germany for the Dolphins against the Chiefs. The offense certainly didn't fire on all cylinders, and Tua certainly didn't look like the MVP candidate that he had looked at prior times in this season. But the defense seems to be improving every week, and they've got some very winnable games coming up, so don't be surprised if we don't get the Tua Patrick Mahomes game number 2 this season coming up at some point in January. At number 7, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars. On the back of their bye week, they have a 5-game winning streak going into that. A big test them coming up this week against 49ers and that scary looking defense. How can Lawrence, Etienne and the rest of the offense deal with this 49ers defense, who are coming in here desperate for a win? And then at number 6, it does bring us to the 49ers. Now at 5-3, they do still sit joint top of the division with the Seahawks, and they do sit still in a great position to take this division. I expect a bounce back performance this week against the Jaguars, and I really do think that the 49ers will be around deep in January. And at number 5, I've got the Detroit Lions. They really do look like the contenders in the NFC to the Eagles and 49ers. David Montgomery should be back from injury this week after Gibbs had that breakout game against the Raiders. It'll be really interesting to see how snaps are shared in the backfield between these two going forward. I expect to see Gibbs transition very much into the passing option and will be huge in the screen game to give Jared Goff another passing weapon on this offense. Goff certainly does have the weapons on this offense to go head-to-head against any offense in the NFL. At number 4, I've got the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, I am getting carried away with the Cincinnati Bengals. As you probably already know, they are now my Super Bowl pick. What a great couple of performances it's been against the 49ers and the win against the Bills. Offensively, they seem to be firing on all cylinders, albeit Chase didn't even go off in the game against the Bills, and they still managed to get a very decisive victory. They are, however, in a very tough division, and believe it or not, at 5-3, given the tie-break scenarios, they actually sit at the bottom of the division. There was a huge matchup coming next week in the division where Joe Burrow will face off against Lamar Jackson's Ravens. At number 3, I've got the Kansas City Chiefs. To be honest, I could have had them a bit lower, but at the end of the day, they are coming off a victory against the team that sat at the joint top of the AFC record-wise with them. There's been back-to-back weeks now where the offensive display has been very disappointing for the Chiefs. And I do feel if you take Kelsey out with his numbers in the last couple of games, they really need that weapon in the passing game. I thought potentially it might be Rice, but he's shown a lot of inconsistency so far this season. So we're really looking for that breakout wide receiver for Mahomes and the Chiefs going forward. All that being said, they've got the best record in the AFC. You just know they're going to be around in January. Mahomes, Reed, they always find a way to win, and it's looking very likely that any teams that are going to beat them in the playoffs are going to have to go through Arrowhead, and that's why they're at number 3. They have the bye week coming up and then a huge matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles the week after. Be really interesting to see where these two teams are at, number 1 in the AFC and the NFC. At number 2, we've got the Baltimore Ravens. The last 2 home games for the Ravens, they absolutely destroyed their opponents, the Lions a few weeks ago, and recently the Seahawks this week. What's scary for opposition of the Ravens is how that rushing game is getting going now. Between Mitchell, Hill and Edwards, over 230 yards and 3 TDs on the ground, let alone the extra 60 yards that Lamar actually put up on the ground himself as well. On the flip side, defensively, they're playing shutdown football at the moment. I don't think there'll be many times this season where you see Kenneth Walker only rushing for 16 yards. The Ravens are certainly looking very good at the moment. Big couple of divisional games coming up for them in the next couple of weeks. And then to number 1, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles. They have the best record in the NFL, of course, 8-1, and they're in a very strong position now to be at home throughout the playoffs. There will be a few concerns from that Cowboys game. Obviously, the Cowboys were coming back at them, and concerns in the secondary in terms of allowing Mr. Lamb 191 yards in the air. They've got some big games after their bye week. Obviously, they start against the Chiefs. They then have a matchup against the Bills and 49ers. I think if they can win 2 out of 3 of them, they've pretty much wrapped up the number 1 seed before Christmas. There's a couple of games late in the season against the Giants. I think we'll just give them the win on those now. So these next few games after the bye will be crucial for where they're going to end up seeding-wise in the playoffs. Guys, that's my power rankings. Let me know in the comments below. Do you agree? Would you change anything? Let me know. Give the video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.